There you go.
Um, we are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It's Saturday, and as so often the case, Ed is with us on Saturdays, and I'm thankful to have Ed here. I've said it before, Ed. As far as the Rational Boomer podcast go, you're the elder statesman. Not only because you're smart, but because you're old,
Oh, yeah, very.
and and that qualifies you as an elder statesman. So how's it going down there in that wonderful state of Tennessee? It is actually a beautiful state. It's just the government that sucks.
It is. Well, the latest, I mean, you're not going to believe this. I don't think people anywhere are actually going to believe this, right? The governor announced that Elon Musk is going to build a tunnel from the airport to downtown Nashville, a Tesla only tunnel. It's being referred to, that they'll only let Teslas in it. They have to bore it through solid limestone. Now, he's tried this before a couple of other places, and it has not worked out well. No one else had any input on this, just the governor and Elon, apparently, or his minions, and people are really kind of upset about it, as you might expect. Who nobody knows what sort of I mean, Tennessee, if you didn't know, is an earthquake prone state anyway. And you start messing around, drilling through the limestone and so forth, you don't know what's going to happen. It's like fracking. But as I
Yeah.
said before, they've tried this with a couple of other places, and I think they did complete one, but Teslas keep exploding in it and that sort of thing. But it's just one more example of what a horrible thing it is to be in a state with one party rule where they really push the envelope on being nasty about everything. For example, the one person in the state legislature, his district is where they're building this. They wouldn't even let him in the meeting. His name is Justin Jones. He was one of the three people they
Right.
threw out of the legislature who immediately got elected back in
Yeah.
because they are in the two liberal areas of the state, which is Nashville and Memphis. But the rest of it's red as hell. But this is just a ridiculous thing. It's a stupid thing. I'm sure there's all kinds of kickbacks involved for the governor and his cronies. But it makes absolutely no sense to anyone. The light rail would just make so much more sense and move people in a better way and all of that. But the state actually used to have fairly good rail, but it's all been torn up and thrown away in service of the oil and gas industry, of course.
Right. Right. Well, there's another dumb story about Tennessee. It's a rumor. It's not a story yet.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard this or not. If you didn't, this is going to be a great surprise for you. Um, you know that Pete Hegseth is pretty
Oh, he's running
trouble.
for governor. Yeah.
That's what I hear. He's going to run for the governor of Tennessee, which I'm thankful for because he's actually, I'm sad to say he's from Minnesota. He's from
Yeah.
Forest Lake or something like that.
Yeah.
But now his home is in Tennessee and he's talking about running for governor. And I'm trying to imagine here's a guy who's been in the job as the Secretary of Defense for 6 months. He's failed miserably.
Yeah.
He's thinking about quitting and then running for governor. What what's the selling point here? I failed as the Secretary of Defense, but I'll be your fucking governor. Jesus Christ.
I like Trump. That's his qualification. And unfortunately, in the hinterland of Tennessee, that's quite enough. I mean, my representative, and for folks who don't know this, I'll reiterate it quickly. She and her husband have a compounding pharmacy business. They were bringing in the materials from China illegally and then selling the product to the VA as locally produced and so forth. The husband went to jail, even though she is, it's a two-person deal, right? But
Right.
she didn't know, right? But so her husband goes to prison and she becomes our representative. But I love God and Trump and guns. That was her. She appeared with a shotgun over her shoulder, talking about Trump and with a cross at the end of it. So that was how she got to be our representative. That's what sells around here, and quite frankly, head chef will probably walk in a walk. He's probably already picking out curtains and shit.
Yeah, no doubt. We're right in the day after when the tariffs were to take place. We had the pause for 90 days. The 90 days was up on August 1st. Um, but Taco Donnie, it was Taco Thursday because he gave Mexico another 90 days. He gave China another 7 days or 12 days. Then he gave some other people 7 days, but then he came back and raised the tariff on Canada, and that started on the first. Can you keep track of what the fuck's going on with the tariffs? I will tell you this. I'm recording this on Friday afternoon, and the stock market's taken a hit after
Yeah.
this little midnight switch.
Well, not only that, but they had some other stuff to go on. For example, interest rates will not go down. They'll be maintained because the Fed looked and said inflation is up 2.7%. That's up 0.03% in June. So inflation is rising regardless of what Trump says about it falling. It's going up. Jobless numbers, the best they could do this past month was $73,000, 73,000 new jobs, right? Which is way below what they expected. Plus, they went back and revised downward May and June by 258,000. That's what killed the stock market primarily. That, and of course, the idea of hedging on the tariffs and so forth. But inflation is up, job creation is down. The unemployment rate is now 4.2%. It's for new grads, college grads, it's 5.8%. So much winning, so much winning. I am so tired of it, just like he said.
The thing about it is you'd always talk to Trumplefucks before the election and say it's about jobs. It's about jobs. Well, let's remind you that Joe Biden created 16 million jobs while he was in office. Donald Trump, while he was in office in his first term, lost 2.5 million jobs. It was regular to see jobs reports 150 to 350,000 new jobs when Joe Biden was in office, and now we're looking at 73,000. And I got a feeling that that's going to get fucking worse.
Oh, absolutely. Just historically, and this is a figure I'm using for illustration. It's not the real figure, but it's close. Okay, say there were 50 million jobs created in America in the last 50 years. Okay,
Right.
Democrats created 49 million, and the Republicans created 1 million. That's the
Yeah.
breakdown. That's the ratio. Okay, I'm giving you a ratio, 50 to 1, and the Democrats 49%, Republicans 1%. That's true. That's factual. That's accurate.
Well, that's a good point. When you talk about the job situation, you talk about the debt and you talk about the economy. This is the things that Republicans constantly run on. We make jobs, we lower the debt, and the economy's better. But in every case of the last several Republicans, at least if not all of them, jobs have been down. The economy sucks and has to be dragged out by a Democrat, and it's just and the debt always goes up.
Right.
How is it that they get away with saying they're going to do things and then time after time after time after time they don't fucking do it?
Well, I blame I blame Fox News primarily because before Reagan, we had a responsive news media, right? Reagan
Right.
created Fox News. He actually brought Rupert Murdoch into the country to create it. And then you have this organ 24 hours a day spewing out nothing but lies and propaganda, pretending to be news. And the uninitiated, the ignorant, the stupid, the deplorables all listen to Fox News. So for when did it get underway? About 90, 90
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, probably.
It's been spewing that ever since, right? Actually, before that, I'm sure. plus right-wing radio, plus the newspapers all being bought up. And it's not just the major ones, it's the minor ones, the hometown newspapers and radio stations have all been right-wing for 40 years. That's what's going on. Total misinformation being to people, and it's going to get worse because we see CBS is now simply an organ of the Trump government, and they agreed to some sort of anti-bias moderators for a couple of years or some crap like that in that lawsuit that they settled with him, which they didn't have to because they would have won. But I mean, now he's going after NBC and ABC as well, and they'll probably cave as well because there is no integrity left. Newsroom is run by the advertising department, not by a news director or anyone with any savvy or any integrity. So that is why they're able to do what they do. A program of misinformation 24 hours a day beamed at America.
With regards to network broadcasting, that has because of viewership and everybody going to streaming and the internet and all that stuff.
Mhm.
It was on life support. I
Yeah,
feel like what Donald Trump did is basically put a pillow over the face of broadcast media, and it's
sure.
done. I don't know that it's redeemable or it will come back. It's old technology. If you're in network news, you might as well be a fucking blacksmith.
Yeah, the people who watch network news are people probably older than me
Yeah.
who don't know, who never got any insight into the internet because, quite frankly, um, I had to play catch up with computers and internet. I really hadn't done anything with them until about 1990. And, I entered into an educational environment where I had to be able to use them. And I had students who knew more than I did because they had started with it in first grade and come right on up. I had to delve right in and relearn a lot of stuff. I'm betting your kids are better with computers than you are.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, they are. I've always adapted to stuff. I'm intrigued by new stuff. So I've learned about computers. I can't fix anything. What's interesting to me though is I'll sit and watch my granddaughter, who's 5,
Yes.
on her dad's tablet, and I mean, fuck, I was playing in sand at 5, and this kid knows how to run a tablet, and if there's a problem, she can troubleshoot it. I'm going, fuck.
Yeah.
Is that good or is that bad?
Well, I think it's natural in a way in that my father's generation um, were great with cars and trucks and things
Yeah,
mechanical like that. Less so with electronic things. They like
right.
stuff that had oil and gas and they could get their hands dirty and so forth. But
Because that
it
was the technology then,
exactly,
the cutting
and my
edge technology.
my grandfather plowed his field with mules, with a team of mules.
Wow.
It's that in my lifetime that has gone from plowing with mules to tractors to whatever they use now. But at any rate, I've seen a lot of development. I mean, when I was born, cross country travel was more train than airplane because
Yeah.
the airplanes were smaller, expensive. They couldn't fly as far. There was no such thing as a cross country flight. You had to do it in hops.
Right.
Things have changed, but I think when you are introduced to something as a kid, your brain changes and you become that technology influences you for the rest of your life, whatever it may be.
Yeah, it's weird when you look at, some of the kids, my kids and such, they've never known a time where there wasn't cable, internet, and computers. Uh, Anything before that is just foreign to them. You and I remember no cell phones and then the big
Yeah,
brick cell phones. I remember when we first got cable at my house when I was young. I was probably 20 years old, and it was 1980, 81, and
yeah,
you had MTV and you had all this stuff. We remember the years prior to all that happening, and it's kind of
yeah.
intriguing to look at the little kids now, and they have no clue. What do you mean before the internet? They assume the internet's always been there.
Well, I saw a thing where they had some millennials, I think it was, they gave them a rotary phone that actually worked and told them to figure out how to use it, and they had no clue. They were, holding the receiver up in front of their face like a microphone, which meant they couldn't hear, they could only talk. They couldn't figure out how to dial or what the dial was for and any of that sort of thing exactly. And they never did figure it out.
I mentioned this before, I think, on the show. My grandmother, when I was a little kid, worked at Northwestern Bell, which was the
Yeah.
telephone company. It was a good
Yep.
job, good pension, good all that stuff. She when I was really young, they had information officers. You dialed 411 and they'd give you information. And my grandmother said, I can get you a job as an information officer. And I go, I don't want to fucking do that. But had I done that, I probably would have ended up a VP in a big
Yeah.
ass company like US West or one of the other phone companies now. Anyway, she told me one time, she goes, you won't believe the technology they're working on. Now, understand,
Yeah.
this is the 1970s.
Right.
He says, do you know that there's going to be phones where you can see each other like video? There's going to be
Yeah.
phones like that. And she says, and you know what? This sounds crazy, I know, but there's going to be televisions that you can hang on a wall like a picture. I go, oh,
Yeah.
fuck no. Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
But damned if it didn't happen.
Yeah.
The phone companies were really part of the technology at the time.
Yeah.
I guess they still are now in terms of cell phones. But you
But
and I went
remember,
through some big transitions.
oh yeah, remember Ma Bell was it. It was a monopoly.
Right.
And once it was broken up, then US West and all of those others took parts of the company and ran with them and so forth. But that was a huge thing when they broke up Ma Bell.
It was. It was a huge story. Um, and it was valuable, I think, to this country. You've talked
Mhm.
about it before about breaking up monopolies and how that's
Yeah.
necessary to do. Do you think, we're in different times now and there are plenty of monopolies out there? Do you think it's reasonable to think that may ultimately happen, or are we just stuck dealing with these people dominating a market?
Well, I think, and people will throw rocks at me for saying this, especially if people who lived through it, although there are probably not that many left. The Great Depression may have been the best thing that ever happened to this country, in that a lot of the power of the money of Wall Street disappeared. And they were in disarray. This allowed the Democrats, the progressives, and in the Republican Party, and the Democrats to come together and basically make a coalition that says we got to fix this shit. We got to break up all of these trusts and monopolies, and that's Teddy Roosevelt started it. Then
Right.
he was out of power, and we had Calvin Coolidge, who was one of Trump like when it comes to government intervention to help people. Um, but and then 1929 happened. The stock market crashed largely because of the same thing that always crashes Wall Street. It's speculation on worthless pieces of paper that people claim are valuable. Now it's crypto. Back then it was other stuff. Under George Bush, it was the housing bubble and the dot-com bubble and all of that bullshit because we let these people gamble. That's what they do. It's Wall Street is nothing but gambling when you're on that scale, right? And they're stealing money out of it. Now we have the hedge funds and the private equity looking at these old line companies like Red Lobster and Joanne Fabrics and so forth, buying them on leveraged buyouts, going in, and like Red Lobster, they put out it was because Red Lobster failed because they were giving away too much shrimp. No, it's because the hedge fund that bought them, the private equity fund that bought them, sold the land that they were on, took the
Yeah.
money, and then saddled them with the debt of paying rent. That's why they failed. Okay, that's what's happening, that kind of thing. But with the crash in 1929, they lost power. They didn't have the money to buy the politicians. And we were on the brink of a revolution. People don't realize that. We were that close to being Russia, to being France. They were ready to destroy the upper elite, but the upper elite was destroyed by themselves. by the financial failure. And then at that time, the country, for the first time, the very first time, um, allowed common people to start to accumulate wealth. It gave them the ability to take their wages, invest it in usually a house or other property that would accrue value over time that they could pass on. It was the first time they were able to do anything other than survive and work for other people. It was a great time, and Reagan had to destroy it. That's where it started. There's no argument about that by anyone who knows anything. And what we may have to have a period of financial difficulty that allows us to say, okay, this is the way it's going to be, that we get the Democratic power, we get the Senate, we get the House, and for God's sakes, we got to do something about the Supreme Court um, to get the thing working again. Right now, government is compromised. Trump really is a king at this point because Congress will not put a limit on him. The courts will not put a limit on him, at least not the Supreme Court will not put a limit on him. The military will not put a limit on him. No, it's going to take something huge. Maybe this tariff thing will be enough when people realize that their money doesn't amount to much anymore. I mean, inflation is a terrible thing for guys like you and me who are retired. I mean, granted, you can make money, but our money is not worth what it once was. I've been watching inflation since I moved here. My food budget is essentially doubled.
Yeah.
That's essentially doubled. That's how bad inflation is. And I don't care how they're reporting it, they're not reporting it well because down here where we live, the common people, inflation is much worse than those numbers reflect.
Well, that's one of the things I said after the election. The fact that they voted for Donald Trump in spite of all they knew seemed absolutely ridiculous to me. And I've always said there's only two reasons for it. They're evil motherfuckers and they want the destruction of this country, or they're stupid. And because I'm a positive guy, I'll just go with stupid. But when we're talking about after the election, and we're just amazed that people were able to do this and vote for Donald Trump, it does seem like there has to be a huge disaster, a depression level disaster for people to wake up and go, fuck, we made a mistake.
Can I give you a historic example? I'm getting ready to put this on TikTok in a little more detail. So I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot. But are you aware of the Great Mississippi Flood of 1927? Have you ever heard of that?
Well, I think you brought it up in the last time we spoke, and people were kind of intrigued by it. I don't know enough about it. I don't know anything about it really. So please go on.
Okay. Well, this is the kind of stuff you don't learn in school for some reason. I'm not sure why. But 1926, the summer of 1926, it started raining, and it kept raining, and it kept raining. By December, all the tributaries of the Mississippi were swollen out of their banks. The Cumberland River in Nashville, Tennessee, was 56 feet above flood stage, for example. All of this water was going into the Mississippi. Now, what the Mississippi had been doing for management since the time of Mark Twain was building the levees, which are dirt dams on either side, essentially turning the river into a fire hose when you got it compressed, when you got a lot of water compressed between these dirt walls. It's shooting down the Mississippi with great velocity. Right now, down in New Orleans, they're getting nervous because town fathers are seeing this water coming at them. What are we going to do? They dynamite the levee. Well, they could have saved their dynamite because it broke at 145 places up or further upriver as well. It spread out so the Mississippi River was essentially 80 miles wide and 30 feet deep in some places. Mostly the lower Mississippi Delta, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi. 750,000 people displaced, most of them poor black farmers, a few whites too, right? And this is devastation. Calvin Coolidge is the president. He won't let any government aid, but he assigns Herbert Hoover, his commerce secretary, to put together a grassroots effort. So Hoover works, he does a pretty good job in a way. He works with the Red Cross, he works with grassroots organizations in each state. Only 500 people actually died that we know of. There probably were many more that we don't know about. But the material devastation at the time was $1 billion. That was the entire budget for the country at the time, by the way. So that devastation in today's dollars is estimated between $14.5 billion to $1 trillion, right? This is the South is devastated here.
Yeah.
What do? They create concentration camps for the survivors. 69% of whom are poor Black people. They put them in these concentration camps, and in order to get food and so forth, see if this sounds familiar to you. They have to have an employment voucher or a voucher from a white person that they're working. And then from these camps, any white person could go to these camps and get Black people to come work for them to fix up their businesses, their roads, their whatever, gather their crops, whatever's left, and that sort of thing. This goes on for many months, right? When the floodwaters finally subside, things start getting back to normal, a lot of the Black people look around and say, fuck this. They head north. This is the time when Black people from the South move to the north, to the industrial cities. In the South, they had not been allowed to vote. They had not. They had poll taxes. They had tests you had to take, and literacy tests in order to vote. The Black vote was very much suppressed in the South. The violence too. I mean, a Black person going to the polls risked their life, quite frankly. So not all the Black people moved to the north, but a huge portion did. When they got to the north, by this time, because Calvin Coolidge and Herbert Hoover were Republicans and they had essentially been re-enslaved for a certain period of time, they were pissed at the Republicans. They switched their loyalties to the Northern Democrats. Picture this. You have millions of people moving in who can vote. They voted out Herbert Hoover like that. And Roosevelt was in, and things began to change. So a disaster like the flood, like the crash, we had both. 1929. This is when I'm talking about here, between 27 and 29. That's when Wall Street crashed, and the flood probably had something to do with that too. With when your entire budget for the nation is $1 billion, and you have a disaster that costs $1 billion, that's going to influence things, right? So people start to say we can do better, and with that influx of votes to the Democratic Party, they were able to take over and held power for the next 20 years.
Well, the question would be then, if it's going to take a disaster, there's so many different options for disasters in this country. Do you have any sense of what it's going to be that's going to be the disaster that causes people to switch their attitudes?
I don't know. They're doing so much right now that it's hard to keep track, and that's on purpose, of course. They're doing so many different things. So I mean, Trump just came out with his anti-homeless executive order that if you're found to be homeless, you can be thrown in jail for 14 days or have a $250 fine. If you're homeless, you ain't got $250. So you're going to jail for 14 days. You're going to get out, they're going to grab you again. So this is they're monetizing homelessness, and not only because are they collecting these fines, which they won't because they don't have the money, but they're putting them into the private prisons where they'll be, of course, allowed to work for next to nothing. I believe part of his edict encourages every state to build new prisons to accommodate the homeless, plus reinstitutionalizing anyone who they deem to be mentally ill. No way that's going to be abused, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. Donald Trump will come out. I heard him say something the other day, and I've talked about this before too. He was saying, because of the tariffs, we brought in $150 million last month, or billion, or whatever the fuck it is, and we're going to bring in 200 next month. And Donald Trump's, the way he scores things is by how much money he made.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that money did come in. He's probably over exaggerating it as he does. But what people don't understand, and apparently what Donald Trump doesn't understand, that money was collected, but it was collected from you and me. It
Yeah.
wasn't collected from China or Canada or Mexico. It was collected from us. Basically, he's caused them to raise the price of products. We pay it, and he claims the fucking win. I can't believe after all this time and the people around him that he doesn't grasp what's truly happening. I think he's just doing what he normally does and trying to gaslight stupid people, and he's successful to a large extent.
Well, you can tell, and I've always maintained this from the beginning when he was running, the things he would say. He hears something and then he twists it in his mind to make it agree with something that he already thinks.
Exactly.
But his, and I have no reason to doubt this, that a retired person from the place he went to school as a kid had records that show that he has a 73. His IQ was 73, which is just above moron status. I mean, they don't use that word anymore, right? But it's he is not an intelligent person. He can only, it's like his fixation with windmills and so forth, right?
Yeah.
Uh, the Oh, by the way, I'd just love to talk a little bit about his trip to Scotland.
Yeah.
but
Let's do that next.
yeah, but no, he's not a smart person. I think he just reacts. He's kind of like a pugilist. He punches, counter punches, and all of that. With some nights when his Adderall intake is high or something, he's up all night posting this
Yeah.
crap. And
Yeah.
it is crap. It's all crap. But he has enablers who can, who for whatever reason, feed him what they want him to do in the way that he does it. I mean, we do have a homeless problem, but locking the people up and throwing them into whatever. I mean, we don't have the places to put them anymore. We have. I was working in Faribault, Minnesota, when Reagan closed all of the state hospitals, right? And promising, they worked out a deal where there was a bill, I remember it was MS something or other, where they were going to close these institutions and create community based, smaller group home kind of things. Well, the next year they rescinded that, but they'd already closed the hospitals, and they never put out the money to create that network that they had promised. So in Faribault, where I was working at the time, there were people wandering around the street living out of garbage cans and so forth. There was one lady who would go to all of the weddings and go to all of the. She wasn't dumb. She figured out where there was food, and that's the way she fed it. She'd show up at every one of them, and nobody would say anything to her. She'd load up and take off. But there were lots of these people who had been released from that mental hospital who had no one to take care of them, who became homeless, and they
Yeah.
gravitated to the cities, of course. And they still have no place to put them. They have still not appropriated any money or created a network for that community based thing. Now, some states have done better than others. Some towns even do better than others. But we have a huge homeless problem. But the problem is nobody can afford the rent, for God's sake.
People will always say we can't afford universal health care, we can't afford free college, we can't afford this, uh, but we give $2 trillion to wealthy people who don't need it. And the other thing, and I used to be worried about bringing this up because everybody goes, "You're anti-Semitic." Fuck you.
Yeah. Mhm.
I have no problem with the people of Israel or the country of Israel. But I would like to know why we send $300 billion a year to Israel. What is it we get in return? And it doesn't seem like anything because uh, over and above uh, the money we send to them, we also help protect them militarily. We
Yeah.
don't send other countries 300 billion. My point is Israel gets this money, and Israel does provide universal health care,
Right.
does provide free schooling. So
Right.
why not just keep that and give it to the people of the country, the people you're supposed to fucking represent. I'm not trying to say let's deny Israel of anything, but what about this America First thing? Apparently
Well,
Israel's first, and that's the problem. The APAC
mhm.
thing and all this stuff, and I have no animosity toward Israel. I do of their leader. They're in the same
Yeah,
situation we are. We're decent
yeah,
people in a decent country. We've got fucked up rulers,
yeah.
and that's what they have. But if we're really going to be America first, let's not send somebody who doesn't need it money, whether it be wealthy people or fucking Israel.
We are always very quick to tell the residents of um, the who are they bombing right now? Help me,
Hamas, oh
yeah. Well,
Gaza,
well,
Palestine,
Gaza.
Palestinians.
We tell the people of Gaza, you've got to deny Hamas and turn on them because they're the ones that are causing us to bomb you. Right? It's Hamas's fault. We're quick to tell them that, but we never say to Israel, Netanyahu's a criminal. He should
Yeah,
be in prison. You get rid of him, and we'll continue giving you aid. Until that point, we're stopping the aid. We do that all
exactly.
the time. We will tell Iran, get rid of the mullahs. We'll tell Afghanistan, get rid of the Taliban. We're always quick to tell them, get rid of this person, that person, unless it's a dictator we like. And oh, do we love our dictators? Because it's easy to deal with a country with a dictator, right?
Yeah,
You just negotiate with one person. And
right.
that's why they like Netanyahu. Netanyahu does the dirty work that some in our government would like to do, but they can foist it off on him. He has to keep doing it. He has to keep war going, or he's done for.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing, the progressives where they made their mistake and the Palestinian people in this country when they were writing Joe Biden for not doing enough, okay? And whether he did enough or not, he did one thing that I knew would change as soon as Donald Trump became president. And what Joe Biden did, he was using this money and all this stuff as leverage, and he was pulling in the reins on Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu is a criminal. He will commit genocide. He will do those things in order to stay in power. But Biden was successful in reining him back. It didn't end the war. It didn't help a lot of problems they had. But the moment Donald Trump became president, I said, you're going to have to understand. Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump are best girlfriends.
Yeah,
Donald Trump's going to let him do whatever the fuck he wants. And that's where the problems come in. We will get
right.
the genocide. We will get the takeover of Gaza. And fuck, that's exactly what happened. I'm not a genius. It's just common sense looking at the people who are running things. And you have to wonder what these people think about Joe Biden now when they're experiencing what they're experiencing. Because those people who voted out Kamala, who didn't vote for Kamala Harris and voted for Donald Trump, I'm sorry, motherfuckers. If this hurts your feelings, too bad. But the blood is on your fucking hands.
It's true. I agree with you 1,000%. Anyone who voted for Donald Trump, how many women are there out there now who are telling people this guy's a pedophile? I
Yeah,
know because I was his victim. I mean, there
right.
are dozens of women saying this, and over the years, even more that he has had some sort of unsavory relationship with, either direct rape or in some way or other, he has been involved in real nastiness toward women. That alone should have disqualified him from the office. But he also is a criminal. I mean, this guy he managed to escape because Merrick Garland was too much of a pussy to bring him to trial. I'm sorry, I hate to use it that way, but it's true. He should be in prison. He would be in prison if Amy Klobuchar had been the the attorney general, or anyone besides him would have brought Donald Trump to trial and would have put him away. And now we're stuck with this.
I will tell you this, now we're dealing with what we're dealing with. The idea that Merrick Garland can fade away into retirement and live a happy life after this. I'm not necessarily vindictive, but when you do the much damage as Merrick Garland did to this country, He doesn't deserve a quiet retirement. When this is all said and done, we need to do a deep dive into Merrick Garland, expose who he is, what he did, what he didn't do. I'm not saying he's a criminal. He's just fucking complicit.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's complicit because he agreed with Donald Trump or he's complicit because he's a pussy ass bitch. I don't know which it is, but the bottom line is we all get to suffer for his inability or incompetency.
Right. James Comey, same way, bringing up, who
Oh, yeah.
single-handedly defeated Hillary Clinton. I mean, these people should pay a price. Every member of the United States Supreme Court should be examined in detail. Clarence Thomas, whose wife was so deeply involved in January 6th, she might as well have been right on the same, been indicted along with Trump. Any number of others of the right wing members of the court are highly compromised and need to be done away with, impeached, gotten rid of. And it could be done. The facts are there, and
You know,
they just need to do it.
the troubling thing when I look at this whole situation, I look at every aspect, every branch of this government. We're talking about the judicial, the legislative, and the executive branch. Every fucking part of it is broken to a certain extent,
Yeah,
suggesting
complete.
our entire government process, our entire government system is fucking broken. And it isn't like we can get a Democrat as president and then fix it in a week or two. It can't be done. Is this a time when we have to maybe relook when we finally get out of this mess, relook at how we do government and at least put more constraints on it where people aren't allowed to commit crimes and get off because they have power and money?
Well, this is the thing, and that's what I said before. We had to have something devastating that removed that power and money for a short time, so that the people could reassert their dominance. I mean, if we were started out as we the people, that's what was on paper anyway. Anyone who looks at history really realizes that we started out as an oligarchy. Rich white men started the country. Black people did supply the labor that made the country great.
Right,
And immigration was the engine that stoked the country and made it great over time, at least financially great, right?
right.
Um, we were no more moral than anyone else. And I think one of the big problems right now, one of the big ones that I'm not sure how to address it, is the intrusion of religion into government and right wing religion as well as. And it's both on the Catholic and the Protestant side. We have these people that remember, religion was complicit with Adolf Hitler. It's not like
Right.
they were against him. They were very much for him. Both Catholic and Protestant in Germany endorsed National Socialism. They thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. It was only when their country was devastated and torn apart that they decided maybe Hitler was not a good guy. They were right there with it. Okay. And the churches right now bear some complicity. The Pope is liberal, but you check out the cardinals in the United States, you might find something totally different. Certainly they are into the pedophile business as heavily as Donald Trump ever was.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you talked about the pedophile situation with Donald Trump. And the thing about it is let's look at Donald Trump. He got 26 accusations of sexual assault from women. You've been adjudicated as raping a woman. That's gone through a civil court and it's been proven and found that you did that. We know that he's been best buddies with the country's biggest pedophile monster in history. We're seeing the connections. And I want to talk more about that too as we go along
Yeah.
here. Um, we get these reports. We get women coming out and saying he did this, he did that. Somehow Donald Trump will tell you, and somehow all these people will believe him, and saying they're all fucking liars. Well,
Mm-hmm.
odds don't suggest that.
That's right.
If there's smoke, there's fucking fire. And those people that hear these stories and say, "Oh no, he would never do that," they know better. They're just
I'm,
trying to cover up for a sexual abuser, a sexual assaulter, a pedophile, whatever you want to call them.
I
And
strongly
that's how these
suspect,
people should be identified.
yeah, I strongly suspect he messed with his own daughter. quite frankly, the evidence is there in pictures. I don't see a loving family there. I see a pedophile messing with his own daughter. Now, the other thing, of course, is that I'm sure his lawyers or his handlers go in a room and bang their head against the wall every time he opens his mouth about this. His latest revelation is that the reason that he and Jeffrey Epstein fell out was Jeffrey Epstein was poaching his employees. We find out those employees were towel girls, underage, working in Mar-a-Lago.
Right.
These are the women, children, really, that Jeffrey Epstein sent Ghislaine Maxwell to recruit for his island. And this is what Trump was upset with him because he was stealing, in one case, a 15-year-old homeless girl who had been placed as a towel girl at Mar-a-Lago that Ghislaine seduced away for Jeffrey. So he came right out and said that. He told us that's why we broke up. That was it. He was stealing my groomed children. They're children I was grooming, and he was stealing them away.
The thing with Donald Trump is the reason he's in trouble, especially with the Epstein, and why this has been revitalized in the news is because Donald Trump can't shut up. It
Right.
also was because he pissed off Elon Musk, which we knew he would do. And Elon said, hey, he's on the list. And
Yeah.
somebody keeps saying, well, how does Elon know he's on the list? And somebody pointed something out. And I don't know if this is possible, if it's true, but it's conceivable given what we know. Elon Musk and Doge went through all the different departments. They
Mhm.
downloaded a lot of shit. Would it surprise you if Elon downloaded the whole fucking Epstein file and is feeding Rupert Murdoch shit so he can put it out there?
I
That may
guarantee it.
sound crazy, but it could possibly be.
Yeah, well, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? I can't
Right.
stand Elon Musk, but I do think that that's exactly what happened. And I do think he's trying to use it as leverage against Trump, but Trump's too stupid to realize that he has that information. Trump, meanwhile, and his administration want to create a national database with all of our medical records, every person in the United States medical records under between managed by the tech giants, right? And the Trump administration. So everything about you, every dime you have, where it is, everything about your health and so forth, they would have at their fingertips in order to go after anybody, essentially. And that's what it's for. This is fascism run rampant.
Right. The thing about it is, since Donald Trump won the election, we all are trying to think of ways to take him down, expose them, take them out of power. And what it's playing out like is the best thing we can do is stand back, cheer them on, and let them fucking implode themselves because they're doing it to themselves. They all they did is talk about, oh, Jeffrey Epstein's files, Jeffrey Epstein's files. People have said Donald Trump never said that. Well, there's video of him saying that, so of course he
Right.
said that. He wasn't thinking beyond the end of his nose. He thought, well, if I get there, um, somebody else, I think, who was it? Conway said, this dumb motherfucker was saying he was going to reveal the files before he even knew what was in the fucking files.
Yeah.
So he gets there and he goes, whoa, shit, now we're not going to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
would you ever have thought that this would have been the topic to take Donald Trump down? But it looks like it might be.
Yeah, let's clear up one thing too. The Republicans keep saying, well, if he was in there, if there was damning evidence in there, Biden would have released it. Simple fact of the matter was there was litigation going on. Nobody could look at the files at that point.
Right.
Nothing could be released. Okay, that's why nothing was released.
And the fact of the matter is the trial, the conviction, and his death, Epstein's death, happened during Donald Trump's administration.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so why would Biden delve back into a supposedly completed fucking process?
Well, especially since he had a trashed economy that he had to fix, that Trump trashed. So he had other things to think about, right? I mean, this was a sideline. This is what Republicans do. They create these diversions.
Right.
That's all they've done. the House of Representatives has been nothing but a diversion factory for Donald Trump since his first administration. That's all they've done. They have not passed any significant legislation unless it was under Biden who managed to get some stuff done. But
Right.
Trump has done no major legislation that helped anyone except billionaires.
Right. You know, and their argument, why didn't Joe Biden put it out? Well, um, that's an excellent point because Donald Trump's saying it's a hoax, that it was fabricated by Biden and Kamala Harris and James Comey and all these people. If that is true, why indeed didn't Joe Biden put it out? I mean, what would be the point of phoning this stuff up without using it with the upcoming election? Donald Trump doesn't think about what he says. He just spews shit at the moment that he thinks can get
Yeah.
him out of the hole. We've talked about the possibility of pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell, which I hope he does because it will fucking implode and burn down on him. But people said to me, well, if he does pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, what's the end game? There's no fucking end game. These are actions of somebody who wants to stay alive today.
Yeah.
There is no
Yeah.
long-term end game.
Exactly. But I reiterate the reason Biden didn't put it out was he could not
Right.
because of the Ghislaine trial and the records were sealed. They could not be released during Biden's term.
I
You
think the
know,
best thing that could happen is we keep getting these little leaks of things out, which may be Elon, which may be Rupert Murdoch, and they don't release the files. The longer they don't release the files, the worse it gets for them. The more people want it and the more they get pissed that they can't have it. So I'm
yeah,
not, granted, if they release it, it could blow the whole fucking thing up and a lot of
yeah,
people involved in it. But there's a lot of things that the country shouldn't see. We shouldn't see the victims' names. We've got video, which is basically child porn. To release
right,
that would be unreasonable because it would
right.
affect the victims and it's just fucking illegal. So
That's why you have grand
theoretically,
juries, okay? That's why you have
right,
grand juries to look at evidence and indict, okay?
right, exactly. And the thing about it is um, the mistake they made is says we're going to release everything. We're going to own the libtards. A lot of that stuff you just can't release, and
Right,
that's why Democrats weren't fighting for it. It was all Republicans. And
right.
now it's Republicans saying, nope, can't see it. So we're just sitting on the sidelines. Yeah, show us. Fucking show us.
Well, I mean, look, we know the people who get into politics are not the most savory people often.
No,
People keep saying, well, Bill Clinton's all over it. He probably is. I don't know that. You have to
wouldn't
show
surprise
me.
me.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me one bit. What's the face? The guy who tried to run for office again. He was that. It doesn't matter. There are lots of people. Alan Dershowitz, I definitely is part of it, right?
Yeah.
He went to the island and all of that. I kept my underwear on, he says. So what? And I don't believe you. But
I got to tell
anyway,
you, if I walked in a room with a bunch of 16-year-old girls and I was in my underwear, there might be some questions about that.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. And this is the thing. I mean, we know that powerful men don't always have the character to go with their power. We've seen it over
Absolutely.
and over again. We're all fallible. The only people I'm sure aren't on that list are me and you because your wife would kill you and so would mine. So,
And I don't,
yeah,
yeah, no. The thing about it is that I've seen people who've talked to, I saw an interview with somebody who sat down with Jeffrey Epstein and he said he was a weird guy because he was like he wasn't human.
yeah,
Everything about what happened with that conversation seems to be um, orchestrated,
yeah,
to create some perception or to get some kind of response. And this is what rich men do. They get to a point And some athletes too, they get to a point where they think they're infallible, that they're better than everybody else, that they can do whatever they want, even the most taboo things, and they'll get away with it. And frankly, a lot of times they do. So when this starts to come out like this, and it's the very people who commit these crimes that put themselves in the situations to expose themselves, it's fucking hilarious. This is exactly what happens when people get too much power. Eventually, they implode because they get too cocky and too confident and they expose themselves and they can't believe what the fuck is happening. Donald Trump is a perfect example of that.
Exactly. And Jeffrey Epstein basically was he was a pimp who then blackmailed his clients. I mean,
Right. That's his job.
he supposedly worked in the financial industry, but there's no evidence of that. He
Right.
put together no deals. He did nothing. He just got wire transfers from a lot of rich men, including Donald Trump. Many, many, many wire transfers of money from Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein. It's there. We know it's there. He's guilty.
Yeah, well, and there's a senator or congressman from Oregon, Ron Wyden,
Right.
and he's been
He's the guy who brought it
investigating the
out.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy that's investigating the money, and he found that with Jeffrey Epstein, there was four banks, $1.5 billion, a lot of money coming in and coming out. I heard a story that he was going to put some of that information on YouTube, and I don't know that he did that yet. I'm waiting to find out. But that would be an easy thing just to bring out. It
Sure.
wouldn't it wouldn't identify any victims, and it couldn't be that it's necessarily um, implicating anybody. But here's $1.5 billion. Here's where the money came in. Here's where the money went out. That would be a good first step to exposing what's going on. Because at that point, we can say, "Oh, that motherfucker was involved. This person put 100 million in." It's at the very least they can do that, and it would give us some indication of just how big this whole fucking thing was.
Yeah. I mean, there's that to me seems like more damning than anything else I've seen. You know,
Yeah,
you can say the rest of it's in your window and rumor because we haven't seen anything, but those are hard facts. What exactly was that money for? Give us
yeah.
an accounting, Donnie. You sent this guy all of this money, wire transfers from you to Epstein. You seem to have no real financial connection. Apparently, there was some sort of real estate deal that they were going to get into that Epstein backed out because he said Trump was a crook, and that had been speculated was as to why they broke up. But Trump had to come right out and say no, he was stealing my little girl. Damn it, that's essentially
Yeah.
what he said.
He's fucking brilliant. I've heard more about the story of where they've alleged to have separated ways. It had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein being a creep because Donald Trump is just
He
as
is a
big a
creep.
creep.
Yeah.
What I understand about that deal, and it was reported at the time, it was like in 2004 or 5 or 6 or whatever. Basically, Jeffrey Epstein made an offer on a huge property, $36 million. Um, and Donald Trump snuck in behind his back, offered 40 million and stole it from Jeffrey Epstein. Now, apparently this property was worth some money because in a period of 5 years, it was resold for 95 million. Now, Donald Trump did sell it to a Russian, so it may not be the actual value. It may
Right.
be money laundering.
And
And
probably is.
Yeah, and that may be part, with the stuff that you were talking about with the financial stuff and even the evidence in the Jeffrey Epstein files, it may not all be about pedophilia. It may be about who's connected to what country. Some people suggest Jeffrey Epstein's connected to Israel. It may be exposing a lot of money laundering, which we know that was Donald Trump. That's where Donald Trump made the most money is fucking money laundering, selling
Yeah.
shit to Russian people at 3 times the value of what it's worth. So
Right.
there's a lot of things that can be exposed in this. But don't you think there's a lot of other people who are just as wealthy, just as powerful, that are pushing back on this or trying to stop this as well over and above Donald Trump? Donald Trump's the dumb fuck. There's got to be people with brains and money that are going, no, 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 we can't see this.
Yeah, absolutely. Who is it who has the bill now to stop stock trading by senators and or by Congress people? And,
Right.
everybody's losing their mind because, they don't want that stuff. Of course they don't, because how many Lauren Boberts and Marjorie Taylor Greens go in without a penny in their pocket and suddenly they're millionaires, right? This
Right.
is what
Right.
happens. They get these stock tips, they invest. Who's the chubby black guy, a right wing black guy who I don't know, I can't think of his
Donald.
name. Yes. He
Donald.
just did. He just invested in a company he'd never even looked at before, and he made a huge return in like 3 weeks because somehow or other he just, picked it out of the air that this company was going to be sold and he would make a shitload of money. Right. Well, of course, somebody told him that, a lobbyist, of course, probably who worked for that company so that he could cash in. Right. So they can get a favor for him later. We know this happens all the time. It happens with Democrats too. It happens, Democrats, Republicans, independents, it doesn't matter. They go to Washington to make money, not to serve you.
Well, Donald, has a reason he needs the money because his girlfriend is now his wife, and he's got to support his little honey
Yeah.
and keep her mouth shut about his real life, whatever the fuck that may be. Yeah, it's Nancy Pelosi came out against this too. I mean, she was
Mhm.
upset about it. Well, why shouldn't
Yeah.
she be? Her and her husband made a ton of money off of this.
Yeah.
Um, and this is part and parcel to what I was saying before, how this whole system is broken. Congress is little more than an opportunity for people, whether they be Republican or Democrat, to grift fucking money.
That's
The whole
it.
point of Congress is to work for us, work for the country, serve us. But that isn't getting done. And that's what
No.
I mean. Even if we dump the Republicans, we got so many problems on the Democratic side. I mean, the dumpster fire has to be put out. But when the Democrats get in there, don't think we won because we still got some shit to do.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, healthcare needs to be addressed. We need universal health care. And the Democrats stopped it as much as the Republicans did because it's a cash cow for them. Okay.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. This is another thing. I'm seeing healthcare in the state of Tennessee is essentially imploding. When I was a kid, there were 7 or 8 doctors in private practice in my hometown, right? You went to their office, you made no appointment, you walked in, you sat in the waiting room. He treated you, you gave him $5, you went home. Right now, we have one doctor with a foreign name who is the only doctor in private practice in town,
Wow.
and he is swamped.
Yeah, I
He
bet.
uh, he cannot keep up with it. He doesn't take any more patients. What we're seeing springing up, and I've seen 2 of them in the last 6 months, are um, independent primary care facilities, small
Right.
offices, and they're nurse practitioners or something like that, that are doing cash primary care, so that people without insurance can go there to be treated. It's not a doctor, but it's something, right? But
Right. Right.
healthcare, people can't afford it because if they can get a policy, the copays are so high that they might as well not have it. There was an industry that went under here, just a couple of years ago, right? I knew someone who worked there, and they were having the people come in every 6 months. They had to go in for a physical, and if they had high blood pressure or anything else, they had to take medication, do whatever they could do to get that down, because if it wasn't controlled by the next one, they would be fired.
Right.
So we're seeing this now where people's health is being used against them, but they are not being able to get treatment for it. This is insane.
It is absolutely insane, and it's once something somebody told me, and based on history and which as an elder statesman, some people have suggested that because it's going to get so bad for medical care, for the economy, for school loans and that sort of things, that this is ripe when we come out the other side. It may be easier to get people to jump on board universal health care and maybe better money, better prices on college and shit like that. I hear about people going in other countries, countries that are supposed to
Yeah,
be lesser than ours.
Mexico.
They go to college for $3,000 a year, and the medical care is
Mhm,
is fine and it's inexpensive. It can be done here. Do you think
mhm.
people will be pushed to the limit where finally they will force our politicians to do the right thing as opposed to what they've been doing for decades?
Um, God, I hope so. I mean, we need another. That's why I said that we need another Great Depression or something. I don't want to live through that, quite frankly. I
No.
don't want my nest egg to disappear overnight because the stock market, where some of it is invested, tanks out, which is essentially what happened in 1929. I mean, the big boys will survive. They've got their money is mostly parked offshore where it can't be taxed, and they live on low country. They live on low interest loans, so they
Right.
live on debt. They don't
Right.
pay taxes. Okay, you
Right.
and I pay taxes, and people below us, and they're getting ready. Their big beautiful bill is going to make the people below us pay even more taxes than we do. This is insanity. And this is what the evening news should be telling us. They should be every night telling us this is insanity. This is what is in this bill. It's against you. They're coming for you. They're trying to kill you. They want to take away the health care of people who will have no option to get health care. Then Medicaid is their last hope for medical care, and it doesn't cover things like vision and teeth. So once again, my parents' generation, by the time they were 40, did not have teeth; they had dentures. In my
Yeah.
generation, I'm 71 years old. I got all my teeth. Why is that? Because I was able to access dental care.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, that's not going to be the thing. That's not going to be happening again. We're going
Yeah.
to
As
be
a
back
country,
there where
culturally,
we'll
we're
be.
regressing. And
Yes,
that's a sad state of affairs. We'll be dead before it becomes really bad. But I think about my kids and my grandkids, and I just don't want to see that for them. We should be better than that. I think. Hopefully, when people start suffering, they will change their minds. I'll be honest with you. We're dealing with people that are literally mentally ill, and I'll explain
yes,
what I mean. They vote for things, they support things that go against their self-interest. Um, they vote for somebody who's taken away their Medicaid when that is the basis of their health care. Whether they knew it or not, they should be smart enough to look into it before they just do stupid shit. We've got immigrants that vote for Donald Trump who are then loaded on planes and sent to fucking El Salvador.
yeah,
But the thing that struck me so much is that I was watching uh, some guy on the street type interview, and they were talking about Trumplafucks. Now, Trumplafucks were the people that wanted this Jeffrey Epstein file exposed.
yeah.
Donald Trump promised he would do that. So now they get to the point where they won't release it. Now they're disappointed. They're angry. They're mad with Donald Trump. Somebody asked some of these Trumplafucks, why do you suppose they're not going to release it? And this is what they said. They said, I don't know, but we got to see it. You don't know, motherfucker, because if it was Joe Biden holding it back, you'd say he's on the list. He's guilty. He's complicit with these fuckers. He's got to release it. Donald Trump says no to you, and you say, God, I don't really know. It makes no sense. It makes every bit of sense if you open up your fucking eyes and your mind to what's right in front of you.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't. I sometimes sit and wonder how Trump was able to assemble this incredible crowd of monstrously evil people that he put in charge of our government, the cabinet secretaries primarily, but then
Uh,
everything. Really, we have the guy in the EPA saying we're going to roll back all the restrictions on greenhouse gases on cars and trucks. On the same day that we had the hottest day in the history of recorded temperatures,
yeah.
126 degrees. They announced this on that day. Well, you've been suffering through heat in fucking Minnesota, hotter than I am here. And we're having floods in New York and New Jersey and and Maryland, and we're having floods here and in North Carolina and in Texas. We're seeing the ravages of climate change every fucking day, and they are saying we're going to roll back the restrictions on greenhouse gases because we can't. And this is exposed to us the failings of our government in that one guy, Donald Trump, can wake up in the morning, send out this edict, and people do it. That's insane. This country was never devised to have a king, but that's what we have now. That's what it's come down to. If you've got the minions, you're the king. And that's
Yeah,
what
that's
we
true.
have.
You know which cabinet member I hate the most? Take a
Let me
guess.
think. Christy Nolan.
Well, she's a good choice,
Yeah, that's
but
mine. No.
mine is Scott Bessent.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I don't want to sound violent, but there's something I would like to do personally.
Well, here's why I hate Scott Bessent. He's a rich guy. He's got generational wealth. He's always been rich. He's worth $500 million. He's had some power, but he was desperate to be the Secretary of the Treasury and to control more money and to make more money. He sides up with Donald Trump and the Republicans, the Trumplafucks. This man is an openly gay man. He's openly married to another man, legally married to another man. He has 2 children through surrogacy. This motherfucker has sold out his community,
Oh,
his
yeah.
family, his kids for power and money that he already fucking had.
Yeah.
That motherfucker is despicable.
Yeah. This is what I don't understand. How much is enough? And apparently there is no limit for some people.
Right.
Uh, I'm not a rich guy. I'm a little worried about the future because of the stock market and so forth, and the way I'm on somewhat of a fixed income, so inflation is a real problem for me. But and I resent having to go through this after my wife and I spent years of planning and doing without things and saving and so forth so that we could have a decent retirement. And to have that threatened infuriates me to the point that like I say, I would like to have a personal discussion with Scott Benson.
Yeah.
That wouldn't last very long. But
Well,
and I'm that way with most of his cabinet secretaries because they are truly evil people. And when they're called on the carpet for the evil things they do, they just lie about it, and they smugly lie about it. And to me, there's only one way to deal with a bully, and that's what these people are. And you know what it is. I know what it is. Anybody who grew up in the 50s and 60s knows how to deal with a bully. You either suffer or you respond.
you kick them in the nuts and slap the taste out of their mouth. And I will just say, you and I are in the same boat. We're retired. And to
Mhm.
quote Prince, I would say, baby, we're not the richest, but I'm rich in personality. So we got that going for us.
Right. And I have I wrote a thing about this a long time ago that I was a cynic by the age of 4. And the reason I was a cynic by the age of 4 was that my family lived in the black section of town and all of my neighbors were African American. And I saw firsthand that they worked their asses off. They weren't dirty, they weren't stupid, and they weren't evil. But everybody said they were.
Yeah.
So that's when I said, then what everybody says is wrong. And
Right.
common sense and all of that shit you people are always spouting is bullshit. You're liars. Okay, you go to church on Sunday, you're still a liar. You go to church on Sunday, but you still won't hire black people, or you tell these jokes about them and you call them these names and so forth, and you're a liar. I don't like you. I don't trust you. So I've been a cynic my whole life when it comes to people spewing this stuff, right? And these are the same people who are always never have enough themselves. They always want more, and they always want to take it from the people who have the least. And they always want to try to be holy, claim this holiness, and it's disgusting, and it makes me want to hurl to be around that kind of person. And
Well,
this
and the
is
thing
what
about,
we have running our country.
right. And don't you think when this is all said and done, because I tell people it can't sustain itself. It's going to be done. When it is, Republicans are going to come crashing down. Our entire government may come crashing down. But I got to think in the end, religion takes a fucking huge hit over this, having sided with somebody who may be a sexual deviant, maybe a criminal, maybe, well, definitely a criminal, definitely corrupt. Don't you think religion takes a hit? I mean, I think they're taking a hit anyway from the younger people. They're
Yeah.
tired of hearing the bullshit.
I do. I absolutely think that, and for one reason, it seems like every night on the news they have a picture. They have the perp walk picture of this guy who's somewhere between the age of you and me, or around that, and he's being arrested for child pornography or something to do with pedophilia or something like
Right.
that. 90% of the time, he's working for a church, and he's a Republican. It's never a drag queen. Never see one. Never see one up there for pedophilia. You know, they're reading to the kids in the library, but they're not diddling them in the bathroom like the youth pastor or the Boy Scout leader or all of these Republican guys. It's always the Republicans. And that's why I said back when they were doing the Pizzagate thing, Hillary Clinton has a pedophile ring. No, but you do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that seems to be the case. They always project, they accuse people of stuff that they are in fact doing. And I've
You
heard
know,
people say that, and I thought that's stupid, but it's
it's
playing out
true.
that way. It's
It's true.
absolutely playing out that way. And I think one of the problems that these Republicans or whoever is involved in this stuff, I don't think this is new. I know this isn't new. This has been going on for decades, but it's been under the radar, under the cover of darkness, under secrecy and stuff. But we live in a world right now that you can't be secret anymore. Everybody fucking knows anything. I mean, if somebody wanted to find out about me, and it wouldn't be that hard to do, and go ahead, fucking do it. I got nothing to be ashamed of. But these people have spent their lives and their careers hiding and masking what they're doing. And they're finding out now because of technology, because of culture in general, they can't do it anymore. And they're kind of flailing now. They're trying to continue to cover themselves like they always have, but it doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. And you see people like Lindsey Graham, who's been this is what my gay friends tell me. He's been closeted his whole life, right?
Right.
You know, um, and others that work against, as you said, their own people.
Yeah.
And and it's not just with gay people. It's with you look at a Boebert, right? She was going around the country lecturing women about marriage and how to maintain this perfect marriage and so forth, while she was having affairs with people and getting felt up at a musical and where kids were present and all of this stuff. Um, this is kind of thing that these people do. They have this holier than thou image they put out there while the whole time. And Marjorie Taylor Greene's another thing, and she was having two or three affairs while she was married and so forth. And yet they're always vilifying anyone else. And a woman who chooses to have an abortion, they will vilify her and try to kill her if they can, and deny her health care. That's another thing here in Tennessee. Just this past week, a woman came forward in Jonesboro, Tennessee, and said a health care provider had denied her prenatal care because she was an unmarried woman.
Oh, wow.
Now,
Well,
talk about your hypocrisy. They are always talking about the unborn, the unborn. We've got to save the unborn, but they're denying prenatal care because this woman, she is by the way, in a 15-year committed relationship with a man, and they have other children. They just don't choose to be married. okay? But they're being denied health care on religious grounds. And the state of Tennessee passed this bill last legislature that says any doctor can deny care based on their religious convictions, which is insane. Whatever happened to the
For
Hippocratic Oath? First, do no harm. You
well, whatever happened to due process, whatever happened to
right?
the Constitution, nothing, everything's fucking out the window. But when you talk about the Republicans and the Family Matters party, one thing we have to tell about Lauren Boebert, she's a piece of shit. I mean, there's video of her giving a guy a hand job in a crowded fucking theater. So tell me
Right.
about the family and that. But her son was just arrested
Mhm.
for child neglect and child abuse.
Yeah.
So you
Well,
did a
does
nice
that
job
surprise
raising.
you?
No, not at all. He was a piece of shit. Her husband was a piece of shit. Her husband is the one that was arrested for exposing himself in front of underage women or
Yeah, showing the
girls.
tattoo on his dick. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there is a term, and it's not PC. It's white trash, but I grew up with it. Probably had it applied to me a couple of times, but that my mom really used it a lot, and it was for white people who were so immoral and in your face that there was no help for them. They were,
Right.
drunks and whatever. But that applies to Lauren Boebert. It just does. And
We're
Marjorie
co-
Taylor Greene.
we're coming to the end here, but I want to talk about one last thing because it's something that's been bugging me. You're seeing videos all over the internet right now about ICE raids and ICE
Mm-hmm.
arrest, and it's getting pretty much out of hand. They're breaking car windows, dragging people out of cars, they're attacking, they're assaulting, they're kidnapping people who are certainly innocent or at least actual citizens. They're doing this. And it's very reminiscent of what happened in Germany with the SS and all that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And these people, this ICE agency and Donald Trump and everybody is the epitome of bullies. I hate fucking bullies. But
And they're
when
cowards.
and they're cowards. When this is all said and done, I've said I need a Democratic president to say, and I'll vote for them if they tell me
Yeah.
this. As soon as I get in office, I'm suspending all activity with ICE,
Yeah.
stopping them in their tracks, regardless of what their budget is. They're not doing anything until we go one by one through everybody who was involved in crimes or corruption and that sort of thing. And I'm talking about Kristi Noem, Tom Homan, and every member of ICE, because what they're doing is essentially close to atrocities.
It is
They are
atrocious.
they are violating the Constitution. They're violating law, and they're getting away with it. What we see that they're doing should not be happening in this country. And each and every person who's been involved in this sort of thing needs to be investigated, prosecuted, and jailed. And if they're jailed, I think just desserts would we put them in the detention camps that they built for innocent immigrants.
I absolutely agree with you. I think I shared a quote with you a while back. I'm going to paraphrase it. It's from Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who was rounded up with many, many, many other people when the communists took power in Russia. He was anti-communist. He was put into the work camps, which this
Right.
is no different. I mean, we're not really expelling most of these people. They're being put in private prisons where they can, of course, be used as labor. And at the same time, the private prison guys are getting rich because they all contributed to Donald Trump. But what Solzhenitsyn said, and it's later how we burned in the camps when we thought about what would have happened when the secret police went out at night to do their skullduggery if a few of them hadn't come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would they have thought twice about going out again? I do not advocate violence. I'm just saying that think about that. Think about the things that they're doing with these guys, the recruitment. $30,000 bonus. They're paying them $60,000 a year with $30,000 bonus for giving student loans. Also, did you realize
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've said this before too. I think that While I don't advocate violence, I don't think that's a good thing. I think they keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Violence seems almost inevitable. Maybe since they love guns so much, we should give people of color and immigrants as many guns as they want and see how this fucking plays out.
Well, this is the thing, that right now I don't know if they get paid by the head or whatever it is, but originally they were supposed to go after, the justification was they were going after these gang members, which I'm all for. I'm all for gangs. I mean, we lived in a part of, or we worked in a part of Minneapolis that was dominated by gangs, and you had to be careful.
Absolutely.
I was against gangs then. I'm against gangs now. I'm particularly against foreign gangs, whether they're from Chechnya or they're from Mexico or they're from El Salvador, wherever they be from. Round them up, get rid of them. I'm fine with that. But
Right.
then they started that. And then Stephen Miller called the heads of ICE from all over the country in and screamed at them that they weren't getting the numbers. So then they started going hanging out at Home Depot where the undocumented aliens were showing up to get day work and so forth, or they were going to the meat packing plants, or worse still, they were waiting at the immigration offices where people had appointments and grabbing them there. This is insanity. It should be
Yeah.
illegal, and the people doing it should be locked up, should be penalized, should be fined, should be fired, should be never be able to work in law enforcement ever.
Does that we've got to come to a point where that actually happens when we have reasonable people running the country, at least more reasonable than they do. Do we go after those people, or do we say, God, I'm glad I'm out of it. Let's just forget about it. That's what Democrats have done in the past and Republicans have done. We really need to go after these people. We need to prosecute them and we need to hold them accountable. Because if you really want this country to heal, there's got to be some accountability, because for the last 10 years, there's been zero accountability, and the confidence in this Congress or in this government and our judicial system is fucking zero.
Right, and the media is not calling these people out when the people getting ready to defund Medicaid say, well, I think it was the labor secretary said, well, there's 134 million able-bodied people on Medicaid that can pick the lettuce and so forth, right?
Yeah.
Well, turns out, no, there's about 1.5 million people who are, quote, able-bodied, possibly, not 34 million, who could be used, and they're spread out all across the country. So then, it might have been home, and it might have been somebody else who said, "Well, I don't see why kids can't pick lettuce." Now this is a guy, you put him in a lettuce field, he wouldn't last 10 minutes,
No.
if that, you know. And there is a reason why kids, it's called child labor. We did that. We stopped that. I mean, at the turn of the 20th century, we had kids, you had little girls in mills, making cloth, and you had little
Right.
boys in coal mines digging coal. 7, 8, 9-year-old kids. Right on up. And we said, no, that's really not a good thing. These kids should be in school. They learn, they contribute. It's so much better if we do that, right? This was when Republicans were in charge before, when
Right.
child labor was so rampant. That was Republicanism right there. And they want it back. Oh, they want it back so bad.
Well, and I think they see that they're losing grip too because of all the old people falling by the wayside, the boomers, and now it's millennials and Gen Zs that are going to be voting in full force in 2028. I think the Republicans realize that their time is short, and they're just trying to vandalize this country on the way out.
Yeah. I hope. I don't know. The smart ones probably know that. They're trying to grab everything they can. But then you have these tech billionaires who are a whole different bubble here. These are
Yeah.
guys who want to take over the country, and Gozar, I think is his name, the guy they worship so much, who wants to have these tech guys in charge. Forget the president, forget Congress and all of that shit. They're going to be regional dictators. Each a tech guy who has his own little thing, and everybody else is going to be serfs. It's going to be feudalism all over again, but tech guys instead of kings, right? These supposedly benevolent dictators. We shall see how benevolent these guys are. Jeff Bezos doesn't give anything to charity ever. I don't think Elon Musk does either. I mean, these people don't give away money, they hoard it. And that alone is reason to lock them up. If somebody has a trailer full of cats, we get them treatment, right? And we try to save the cats. Well, it's no different. It's they're hoarding money instead of cats.
Absolutely. Well, Ed, we're coming to the end right now. I appreciate you coming on. It's always a pleasure to have you
It's
on
always
and
fun.
have a conversation. And I learn shit all the time. And I'm an old goat, so to have an opportunity to learn shit um, is great fun. And I know a lot of people who listen to you on here, you're a favorite of theirs because they like the historical stories. They like the image of an old man with a beard telling them what it used to be and what it can be. So I appreciate you coming on.
Well, I lived through this once. I really it like hell having to live through it again. I was
Yeah.
born in 49. I went through the 50s, and from 1950 to 1960 was what we have now. It was the ascendancy of the white male, and
Right.
I am one, and I tell you, it's not the way to go.
No, it's not. I hate old white men. And because I can say that because I happen to be an old white man. I was born in
Exactly.
60. I was born in 60 and through my entire life there were good periods, of course, but there's been a lot of turmoil in the
Yeah.
60s, in the 70s, in the 80s. And I'm tired of fucking turmoil. I just want people to be able to live their lives and be comfortable and enjoy some things. You shouldn't have to toil your entire life, struggle your entire life and then just die. There's got to be a period of time when people can enjoy themselves and be happy and live their lives.
And boy, do conservatives hate that. But the good
Yeah,
news is it only takes 3% of the population of the country getting head up to change things. We stopped. Women got the vote because people hit the street. We stopped the
right.
Vietnam War because people hit the street. Unions became what they were because people hit the street. That's what we got to do. There's no way around it. You can't stay home and sit in and we do what we do. We're on the internet putting this out there, but occasionally we have to get out in the street too. So this is what happens. You link arms and you go. You build the barricades if you have to. You talk to the soldiers. You get them on your side. Things can change, but you have to be involved. You know, what was the thing when I was a kid? Let so and so do it. Well, so and so's busy. You got to do it. You got to be involved. You got to step up.
This is no time for apathy. Ed, tell people where they can find you on TikTok and YouTube and the like.
Okay. Okay. My username is, or my title thing is Reelin in the Years. That's REALIN apostrophe Reelin INPHEYEARS. Reelin in the Years at Holler Troll. HOLLERTROLL at Holler Troll on TikTok.
If you haven't checked out Ed as yet and you listen to this program, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. What are you waiting for? It's very simple. It's very easy to find them at Holler Troll and Reeling in the Ears. If you aren't
Yeah,
watching them, you're missing out.
few 100,000 followers. I'm rolling in money. So let's get it done.
Absolutely. All right. Well, those of you listening, I want to thank you for taking the time to do that. Hope you have a great day. We will talk to you again tomorrow.